Hi, my name is Steve Brown. I'm the president of Arrow Leadership. We develop Jesus-centered leaders. Today on Tips and Tools for Leaders, we're going to talk about meetings because meetings matter. And I know even the word meeting can put a cringe in people because we spend so much time in meetings, and a lot of the meetings seem like they're a waste of time. The only thing worse than being in a meeting that's wasting your time is when you're leading a meeting that's wasting other people's time. So we're going to zoom in on some tips and tools to help you maximize meetings, and particularly group meetings. The first one is the agenda. You should have one as a starting point. What are you going to talk about and why are you going to talk about it? But on that agenda, one of the things you can do is make a 2-column agenda. And in the first column, put the vision and values of your organization or your team. And having the vision and values there helps you as you look at the rest of the agenda and you talk about all the agenda items to keep referencing back. What are we about? What do we value? And that can inform your discussion. Another thing about your agenda is to divide the items to talk about into inform items, into discussion items, and into deciding items. So you can just write inform and then the dash and then what do you want to just inform people about? Or what are we going to discuss? Or what's the decision that needs to be made? So you're really framing the topic for people to jump into and discuss. A third thing is to put in there the time for each agenda item. So what are you anticipating for each agenda item? Put that in brackets on your agenda. That helps people to know how much time has been devoted, and it can also help you kind of keep the meeting going to make sure that you finish on time. Some other things about meetings. Connecting with people at the start of a meeting. Especially if you haven't seen people in a week or more, you want to catch up. How are people doing? And you can ask some simple questions and go around the circle of the table very quickly and just ask, what's one word that describes your day today? Or what's one word that describes your world since we were last together? That lets everybody talk, and getting them talking early is helpful, but it also helps you to hear if there's any themes or any things that you need to address before even the meeting begins. Another thing is prayer. Our Arrow board has a standing rule that whenever anybody in a meeting wants to pray, they can stop the meeting and have a time to pray. And I think that's just a fantastic rhythm to have. And also when you go through the agenda and items are coming up that you know you need God's help with, pray right then and there as you go through the agenda. Another thing is vision. Why are you here? Why is it important? What's at stake? Help people to capture the vision for why this is important and what God's doing. You can do that by sharing a comment card. You can have somebody Skype in and share the difference that your organization or team is making. You can share a testimony from somebody, but just to give the vision of why this is important. Another piece of that is celebration. I often start meetings by going around the circle and asking people, what's one thing we can celebrate that God's doing? Doing that helps us all be more thankful. And it reminds us that God is at work, that there is momentum, and oftentimes we just don't celebrate enough. Another part of meetings is developing. What are the things that you want your team, your group to be developed in? If you're meeting 4 times this year or 10 times this year, make a list of the 4 most important things you want to develop them in, or the 10 things. And take a 10-minute window in your meeting as a development corner and just share that item and talk about it to help develop people so they walk away sharper and more skilled and feeling like you've invested in them. Couple other things. Breaks. If your meetings are going over an hour and you're not getting people up and moving, then you're actually losing time and you're losing effectiveness. So at the 1-hour mark or even earlier, get people standing up, maybe for one issue they talk about as they stand up, maybe just to take a 5-minute break, because if you can get people moving, they're actually going to contribute better in the meeting. And last thing is to reflect at the end of the meeting, just asking, hey, before we wrap up, could we just reflect back on the meeting we've had? What's gone well? Get some input from everybody on what's gone well. And then what could we do better next time? What would help us to be more effective next time? That learning posture can help your meetings to be really effective, and you get a better sense of how people are going home. These tips and more are listed for a downloadable that's free on the screen.